A deadly attack killed at least 24 people in an Iranian military parade over the weekend. Iran now warns revenge against the U.S., Israel, and their allies in the region. Sara Montes is here with the details. Sara, there was some pretty dramatic footage of the protesters in the streets this weekend.
That's right, Scotty. Thousands took to the streets this morning in the Iranian city of Avaz after a deadly attack on a military parade that killed at least 25 people and wounded more than 70 just this weekend. Now, many chanted death to Israel and America. Now, the attack took place in the southwestern city of Avaz, the provincial capital of Khuzestan. This was the deadliest attack in the country in nearly a decade. Among the dead were military and civilians who were watching the parade, including children. The attackers shot from a nearby park and were in military uniforms. Anti-government Avaz group and ISIS claimed responsibility for the attack. But as Middle East tensions soar, Iran blamed the U.S. and Gulf allies for that attack. Iran says it's ready to confront the countries behind it and threatens a devastating response to the U.S. and its allies, Saudi Arabia and Israel. On Sunday, Iran's foreign minister took to Twitter saying Iran holds regional terror sponsors and their U.S. masters accountable for such attacks. And Iranian President Hassan Rouhani vows retaliation and a crushing response.
All of those small mercenary countries that we see in this region are backed by America. It is Americans who instigate them and provide them with the necessary means to commit these crimes. These incidents will have no effect on our will and on our path. Our nation has resisted very big crimes. God willing, this crime will be responded to within the law and the framework of our country's interest.
Iran also summoned Western European diplomats, including the Dutch, Danish, and British, over the attack, accusing them of harboring opposition groups that Iran deems terrorists. And on Saturday, New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani denounced Iran, claiming it's only a matter of time before they're overthrown. Giuliani declared the Iranian regime is to be the most dangerous in the world. UN Ambassador Nikki Haley rejects the blame and on Sunday said he can blame us all he wants, but the thing he's got to do is look in the mirror. Haley also says that this week's United Nations General Assembly, which is taking place in New York City, could give the U.S. a chance to sort out these tensions. Scotty, as President Trump chairs the UN Security Council on Wednesday, he plans to denounce Iran on nuclear nonproliferation. Now, although Trump isn't looking to meet with Rouhani anytime soon, both Nikki Haley and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo say that Trump is open to talks with Iran.
For more analysis, we go to former Pentagon official Michael Maloof. Michael, thank you for joining us.
Pleasure.
General Hussein Salami, the acting commander of Iran's Revolutionary Guard, claimed the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Israel are responsible for the attack. How do these attacks actually help or hurt the already contentious situation in the area?
Well, I think the attacks will actually embolden the Iranian people. First of all, there were a lot of civilian casualties in this respect. Even though the opposition is trying to foment unrest within among the Iranian people, I think it will have the opposite effect and actually move people more to support the government itself. It may backfire on them as far as I can see.
Well, this brings in President Trump, who will be chairing a meeting of the United Nations Security Council on Iran this week. What can we expect from the president and the outcome of this meeting?
Well, I think you're going to expect the usual denouncements. That it's the worst government in the world. It's a sponsor of terrorism. We're going to hear all the usual rhetoric that we've been hearing out of Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, as well as Pompeo, the Secretary of State. I think, though, that even though Trump has called for a desire to meet with President Rouhani of Iran, the conditions that Pompeo and the State Department have put on subsequent to that make it increasingly difficult, and it's questionable whether Rouhani would want to meet with Trump at this point, even though I think dialogue never hurts, as we saw in the case of North Korea.
Well, since President Trump has been in office, we've actually seen a little bit of a separation. You've got the ones around President Trump being very harsh and very aggressive in their language. President Trump actually being oddly enough more moderate. Do you think there might be a division between the two?
Oh, I think there's a tremendous division. I like to say that there's a Trump foreign policy and a Trump administration foreign policy. And we're seeing this increasingly with Pompeo, Nikki Haley, and John Bolton, and now Giuliani, who are openly talking to opposition members for the overthrow of the government. Yet Trump wants to meet and is not into regime change as his neocons and neoconservatives are advocating. So it clearly shows a division, and that's one of the many reasons why the deep state dislikes Trump personally.
Well, talking about Rudy Giuliani, over the weekend, Rudy came out and claimed the current Iranian government would be overthrown. Is this the official position, do you think, of the Trump administration after seeing what we did in Benghazi, what we did in Libya? Do you think this could be a road that we're actually considering going down?
This is what the neocons want to push Trump to do. And I think it would be very, very dangerous, and I think Trump has been warned against such actions by people in the international community. At the same time, Trump wants to leave it up to the decision of the Iranian people. But if you're going to have these kinds of attacks, as we witnessed over the weekend, it's just going to embolden people to galvanize, to back the regime itself, the government itself, and to oppose the oppositions, particularly Israel and Saudi Arabia. Now that they can trace the origin of the attackers and who basically backed them, Rouhani is basically correct in saying that they're being encouraged by outside players, namely the United States.
Well, President Trump has tried to establish friendships, it seems, first with Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
We've seen, obviously, the continued with Israel and Iran. Is it unrealistic to think that maybe he could get along with all three?
Conceivably he could, but when you have leadership such as Prince Salman of Saudi Arabia, who's openly advocating regime change in the Sunni-Shia debate, and you have this unwritten alliance between Israel and Saudi Arabia and the United States making massive sales of arms, it really consolidates support among the group that supports Saudi Arabia's claim as opposed to Iran's. And I think that increasingly you're going to see an alternative world order emerge from all this, because increasingly people feel that, particularly in the East, that Iran, which was in compliance with the Iranian nuclear agreement, is now being openly attacked like this. And Giuliani and Bolton, who are all neocons, are basically pushing for the overthrow of the Iranian government at this point.
Continually shifting, and the players that lose were the American soldiers who have to go over there and actually fight on the ground.
True.
Thanks for joining us.
Sure, pleasure.
Hey YouTube, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope you enjoyed the video. We have tons of content for you just like this. For more of RT America's one-of-a-kind news and analysis, be sure to subscribe and never stop questioning more.